My name is Dr. Leslie, and this is Intentionally Disturbing. Today, I have the honor of talking to Martha Trujillo. Martha is a badass. She was in a gang. She was exploited sexually. She was a victim of sexual trafficking, and she has turned her life around. She now teaches kids how to not get tied up into that system. And what I also love about this is that she gives us a glimpse into the dark side of Orange County. So it's not just the OC as you see it in the old TV show. I hope you enjoy the episode. Oh, hey. You're here. I wanted you to be on because I think where you are now is so fucking incredible after the life you've lived. And I feel like the world needs to hear that anyone can dig up this strength and resiliency and do whatever the fuck they want with their lives, no matter what they've been through.
Most definitely. And I think it's been such a long journey that when I would introduce myself, I would start first with like the fucked up stuff at first. Like, oh, like here's me, like the former foster youth, former gang member, former incarcerated person. But now now I introduce myself with like, you know what, like let me level up and just say the good first and then I'll talk about the rest. But it has been a journey.
Okay, we have to give the audience a backstory.
For sure.
Okay, so, I mean, trigger warning. We're going to talk about sexual assault, trafficking, drugs, incarceration.
Organized crime.
Gangs. Should we do it in should we orient them in like a linear fashion? Like
I can do it very like from the beginning to like, I guess where I'm at now, where it ended up. But
okay. In California.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time. Martha was born and then hell all went.
Yeah, so I'm from Fullerton, California.
Okay.
In Orange County girl. And my life, with my family, my mom, she was a single parent, raising me and my little sister, you know, it was very dysfunctional. She was schizophrenic and she was going through a hard time managing work and trying to get by, right? So
she was working and she had schizophrenia?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very mild, but like she still had it and she had to take a lot of medication for it. And so at one point she couldn't afford it. And I didn't comprehend all these different things. At the time I was like 9. So that's when everything started to like get more heavier on her. But she always suffered from mental health. She was an orphan in Mexico and she immigrated over here.
So she would hear voices or see things,
the whole 9 yards. Like I'd be sitting in the room and she'd be like, you know, mija, there's a lady right there. I'm like, fuck, where? You know what I mean? Like, and
you knew, you were like, there really isn't someone there? Or were you like...
You know what? At that point, I would believe her. And I would get like scared too, but I would gain the courage to get up or whatever and do what I need to do for her to feel comfortable. So that would be happening at home. School was fucked up because I would have to deal with that at home, you know? So elementary school, like finishing elementary school, 6th grade, was kind of tough. I get acquainted with the neighborhood kids in my neighborhood.
A gang.
Yeah. And then I got jumped in at 10.
So when you say jumped in, I don't think I've ever heard it phrased like that.
What do you hear?
Like initiated or...
That's a very fancy word.
I know.
You get fucked up.
Which clearly I'm not in a gang because I don't like... What do you mean you get fucked up? Like how do you get jumped in?
Well, I think there's a lot of misconception. Like for women or for girls, like they, you know, a lot of gangs, either you get like literally fucked in, like you get like actually like raped or whatever.
Oh, okay.
You know, like I guess you can say in that words if it's like older men doing it, right? I was from the gang Fullerton, Torkerstown, and we had like, you know, like divisions. Like they had the men's division, we had the women's division.
Oh, like the Boy Scouts. Okay,
it was very organized, right? So you had to get jumped in. So meaning like you had to get beat up, you know, for a certain amount of time. So then that happened.
How long?
Like 60 seconds, but I swear to God, it feels like an hour.
But one person?
No, many.
Many people are just beating the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Like punching you.
You can defend yourself. Like, it's not like you have to stand there and just be like, oh, like, you know? No.
With weapons? Or it's just like...
No, because it's like, again, they're allowing you into a family. So they're not going to like hit you with weapons, like nothing like that. But just with their fists, like their body. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that happened for about 60 seconds. But afterwards, they pick you up and they're like, oh my God, you know, like, you're a part, you know, and then that's where it all started.
They couldn't have just sent you like an Evite?
No. There's no like, you know, hey, just RSVP and then just come and join the meetings.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
so
no.
this is, and it's something you kind of wanted to be a part of it.
I felt like somebody just living when I'm just living in a world feel like with nobodies, you know, like I felt like somebody at that moment. I'm like, all right, cool, like here
instant
the fuck
friends,
I am.
credibility, protection, family.
Just like a name, more credit to my name, you know. And I felt like I walked with a different type of spring to my to my walk and stuff.
My shit don't stink.
So then that happened at 10. Things were still going bad at home. One night, well, every night was kind of hard for my mom because either, you know, like I would wake up to like gurgling sounds because she was trying to be like commit suicide every night.
Oh my!
So she'd try to kill herself.
She was trying to asphyxiate herself.
Yeah. She was really hurting. She was in a lot of pain. And
so you didn't stay in her home for long then, or?
So then, like one night it got pretty bad, so we had to call 911. I had to call 911. I never, you know, thought I'd call 911 because again, I already had learned from that like age that.
What kind of phone did you use then?
We had a landline.
Oh, you had a landline.
We had a landline. Yeah.
And you knew you were like what, 11 or?
At that point, I was like already like 11. Yeah. So time had gone by, but like it was still getting worse and worse and worse. She was on medication again, but then she stopped it because we couldn't afford it. Well, she couldn't afford it. I wasn't contributing to the household.
But it's so typical too to go on and off and have ups and downs. This sounds really severe.
Yeah. So
tormenting.
Yeah. So she had seen something had happened to her at work. She had gone raped at work, and then so that was also happening. And then she had seen a ghost at work or something like that. And then basically everything was just dysfunctional, right?
Yeah.
So then I called 911 that night because she was about to like really like she was turning blue. I'm like, if I don't do something, because I was already mad at that point. I'm like, you know what? Do it if you want to. I don't give a fuck no more.
What was she using to?
Like a cable cord to
strangle. Okay.
Yeah, like the landline cord.
And just like holding it.
Like really, like yeah.
Was
like,
she hanging herself?
No, just we were about to move at that point, and all we had we were sleeping on the ground, you know, on the floor, and I just remember just hearing like these sounds, and my little sister saying, Corey, like. Because they would call me Corey. Well, they call me Corey. She's like, Corey, like, do something. Like, I don't know what to do. And my little sister's younger than me. So I'm like, fuck, all right. So I turn on the light and like, she's like almost about to pass out. I'm like, dang, like you have that much strength. And it just, that sight, that moment, it fucked me up.
Yeah.
It fucked me up. And I hated my mom for the longest time. Or disliked her. I don't want to say the word hate no more, but I disliked her. But that moment, it felt like hatred.
Can you say a little bit more about like how it fucked you up?
In the sense of like, I just felt like the one person that should have been protecting me or should have like, she brought me into this world. Everything was everything was good beforehand, right? It was like, she was the best mom, like morning meals, like she did everything, like everything was happy. Everything was great, you know? Then I think as you're growing up and you start seeing different things, like your sense of like innocence starts withering away. So then that sight, like just any sense of like, innocence that I had, it just went out the window. Like, fuck it. Like, whatever.
Beast mode.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I was already kind of dabbling in drugs already. Like, at 10, I started, you know, smoking weed. At 11, I started doing crystal meth.
Okay, wait. Educate me. Crystal meth is, like, on a spoon and you light it?
No, that's heroin.
Oh, okay. How do you do crystal meth?
Crystal meth, you can do it in many ways. You can snort it. You can shoot it up, or you can smoke it.
How were you accessing it? How?
Older people.
So like gang members?
Yeah, older people that they turn you out. It's a word, like they turn you out. They want to be the first ones to turn you out. Meaning
turn you out means like introduce you to drugs?
Introducing to anything. Sex, freaking anything. It can be anything. Like a lot of pimps or exploiters, they'll be like, oh, I turned you out. Like, I'm going to turn you out. Like when I got my first tattoo at 14, 15, whatever. I'm like, I want to be the first one to like basically like right on, like, you know, they want to like be the first ones to turn you out on like, oh, I want to be the first one that ever touched up like your skin on like ink. It's a crazy thing. Like people have like this certain perception of like with the young people like that they want to be the first ones to do something.
But that's like grooming.
Yeah.
Grooming, right?
And I didn't understand none of that until I got older.
So they're just watching you, waiting for these opportunities.
Yeah.
And there's some kind of power. Like they're getting off on
like,
this.
oh my God, like let me see how she reacts or like whatever. But yeah, so I was 11 when I first tried it. Freaking fell in love with it.
How did it feel?
Amazing.
I've never done it.
I loved it. I loved everything about that drug.
Did it make you feel like you're having an orgasm?
It felt like I could do fucking anything.
Oh, really?
Anything. It felt like I can do anything.
But so you have energy too?
Yeah, it gives you like the best freaking high, like it really does. And at 11, like when I first tried it, I was so confused about the feeling. It was an overwhelming feeling because I never felt this rush, right? So I wasn't doing it as often, like back to back, because I was still going to school and I wasn't always accessing that, right? But as the years progressed, like it took a hold of my life for a long time.
I mean, I can imagine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But,
so the night you called 911 with your mom, did you go into foster care? I mean, what happened?
So my mom got taken to she got like a psych hold on her.
Yeah.
Like a 5150 type thing. So she went away for a while, but for some reason they didn't know that she had kids, or they didn't ask her. So we were with an aunt for a long time. No, we were staying at the apartment still, actually, by ourselves, me and my sister. We were thinking just, I don't know, maybe she'll come back or whatever. And then I guess like a couple weeks passed by and they're like, my mom had told them like, yeah, I have kids. They're like, oh, what the fuck?
Once she kind of stabilized on medication.
She's like, I have my kids. I need to talk to my daughters. Like, and like, oh, and then I was pissed. I'm like, well, now you remember you have kids, So I again, you don't understand as a child, like all you care about is like, you didn't give a fuck.
And you had enough food in the house? You had money?
We made fine. Like, no, I didn't. I'd be stealing shit.
Okay.
Yeah. Making sure my sister ate, stuff like that. But I think for the most part, we had good, like even we didn't stay, we didn't have the apartment by ourselves. We had like an aunt and uncle. So I think they were also supporting us and helping us out. But like, I didn't like to ask for nothing. I was like, oh, just, yeah. But that had happened. And then afterwards, when they found out, social services came and then they took us. Then we went to Orangewood Children's Home.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So you weren't assigned other parents. You were in
my dad, I never met him. He did 15 years in the penitentiary and then he got deported for drug trafficking.
So what is like, for people who have never seen Orangewood or a place like that, what does it look like?
Back then, because I've gone to it recently, it's still kind of the same stuff, but it's a emergency shelter for Orange County kids, where if a kid is displaced, like a minor, from their home or whatever, or don't have anywhere to go, if they're runaways, stuff like that, or they go there. It's an emergency shelter, and then
there's a lot of beds.
They're like little cottages. They're like little cottages and like units, right? So
you're alone in one, or there's
I was able to be with my sister. Yeah.
Okay.
So first they have like an intake unit. It's right next to the juvenile hall, which is convenient. It's crazy. And
because they just expect that's where you're going.
Yeah, so it's like Orangewood. The Orangewood Children's Home is in the middle, and then the Olathe County Jail is in the side, and then the juvenile hall for minors is on the other side, and the court system is right there.
So they're like, okay, this is the trend. Let's make it easier for transportation.
Like a pipeline.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. I never understood that. So
that's fucked up, actually. Yeah.
So it's just right in the middle like that. But when there's somebody messing up in the home right away, like there's like a ton, it's like a gate. You can just transfer a child from the home to juvenile hall right away. So it's like super convenient.
But why? If
you start acting up, because kids are, kids that go there are some of them, we're fucked up. Like, we don't give a fuck. Like, we'd be, they'd be fighting staff or fighting amongst themselves. Because again, it's all Orange County. So imagine I was already part of a gang. So when I went there, my first thought is like, fuck, there's going to be enemies, like people from Anaheim, people from Buena Park.
So you're just going to catch a case like right away.
For me, I was just trying to like lay low and just be like, all right, what's going to happen? I guess, but honestly, my main thought now after I joined the gang, it was like just gang stuff. I didn't give a crap about like my little sister. I was like, dude, like you need to work it out yourself. Like, I didn't like really care or whatever. I didn't think about her needs or, what her perspective was on the whole situation. My thing was like, I'm a gang member now and I need to make sure that I don't rank it, meaning like I don't like, if someone bangs on me with saying like, hey, where are you from? Like I don't say, oh, nowhere, because I'm being a bitch. So that wouldn't happen. And basically just making sure that I rep my set to the fullest. That's all I cared about. That's all I didn't care about school. I didn't care about.
But this is like pre-arrest, pre.
Yeah, pre-arrest.
This is
like 11 right now. I'm 11. Yeah,
11.
And
how many times have you been arrested?
I've been arrested over 30 times.
And when was the first time?
The first time was August 1st, 2008.
How old were you?
I was 13.
Wow.
13.
What happened? I
had just gotten expelled that summer, I believe. Yeah, that year, or maybe the year prior. Yeah, I was already going to Access, something like that, a continuation school. But it was in August, so like the last year I had gone. First 2 weeks in 8th grade, I got expelled from the district because I was selling and smoking pot like on campus. So I got expelled for that. It was like, the zero tolerance policy that they have.
It's not fair because now it's legal. But
yeah. And it's all right. It happened for a reason. But so
you went to juvie?
So I went to juvie. So the reason why I got expelled was because I had heard from the grapevine that some girl had snitched on me and da-da-da-da. Again, I was already a reckless boss. So I think I really wasn't covering my tracks very well. Like, if I'm thinking about it now, like I probably was being just super sloppy, And so, but I held this grudge on this one girl. And so that, fast forward to that time when I got arrested that night, I had seen that girl kicking it somewhere like in a park that we normally post up at. And I started beating her up. I'm like, oh, bitch, you want to call me a beaner and this and that? What's up? Like she was some white girl or whatever. And I'm like, and so I fucked her up. And at the same time, my homegirls that were around there, they took her bag. I didn't take her bag. I just wanted to beat her up. I didn't want to like take her stuff. And I'm like, I didn't give a shit about that. So when I got arrested, she called the cops and all this stuff. And they had found us, like, we had ran, but they caught up to us and they had lined us up. And she pointed me out from the lineup or whatever. But obviously I was going to say that I didn't steal her bags because basically it's a robbery. It's a 211 when you use force or fear. And I was going to wrap my friends down and be like, oh yeah, they're the ones that took the bag. So I'm like, fuck it. I took it, whatever. So I got arrested for assault, battery, and first-degree robbery.
And that's a loyalty thing.
Yeah, you can't snitch.
You can't snitch.
That was like, I felt like that was my first test in a sense. Like if I can't do this, I can't have a criminal career. So I'm like, if I start snitching now, like what do I have?
Because you wanted a criminal career.
I did.
That was kind of what you were groomed
I wanted to be a gangster to the fullest. I wanted to be a badass.
And then, I mean, you were.
I guess.
So how come you kept getting arrested?
So after that, I served, what did I do? I did like 31 days in juvenile hall. They gave me a plea because it was my first time. And then I just kept getting arrested, but I didn't get sent to juvenile hall after those times. I just kept getting arrested. I'll stay in the police station for X amount of time or whatever, just because they were being assholes. Fullerton PD. Yes. I'm not going to comment on you guys, but some of them are cool. Don't get me wrong. I have some co-officers that I met, but for trespassing, open containers, drug possession, all these different things. But since the time that I got out from juvenile hall, I was on probation. Until...
So you would get out, and then where would you live?
So my mom ended up getting us back. So when I got out of juvenile hall, my mom ended up getting custody of me and my sister. And when I got out, she picked me up from juvenile hall. We were living in basically the heart of the hood, which was good and it was bad.
Yeah.
And so...
Because you had full access to everything you should not have had.
And no privacy either, because like even if you wanted to be a regular kid, you couldn't, because I feel like it was always a show. You always had to be like on set. You had to be like showing your toughness, hardness, your toughness, your, any type of feminine aspect that I wanted to have or whatever. I feel like I couldn't really show it because as you're growing, you're like, hey, maybe I want to be girly. Like, nah, maybe not.
But you couldn't be girly and tough.
No.
Oh.
No. I mean, you could be feminine and they still look like a female. I wasn't dressing like a boy or anything like that, but, you still had to like be like this hard ass freaking like Latina, like, oh, like, you know, like it's typical. And I feel like now, even with just our generation of young women and, you know, older women, we just have this like hardcore freaking aspect to us, but we also want to be very loved. Like, love me, but like, I'm a bitch.
Yeah.
You know? And so all that shit happened. I was on probation and my addiction was just getting really bad.
Yeah.
Like, I was started getting really hooked on it, in and out of school.
Is the trafficking?
So, you know what? Like, there's different aspects to it. So trafficking, when we hear trafficking, we think about it like, at times people, when they hear that word, it's like, oh, foreignly. Like, it's happening across borders or something like that. It's not, right? So it was very local. But there's also another term called sexual exploitation.
We'll be right back after this break. What's the difference between trafficking and sexual exploitation?
The difference between trafficking and sexual exploitation is that sexual exploitation happens like with a minor, right? And then it can be anything of value that a child needs to do for a sexual favor. For instance, like, and they may not know it's happening, right? So it can be like, hey, I'm going to give you a ride. And then now this adult, this predator or whatever person is like, oh, but like, suck my dick type shit. Like, and that would happen often.
That's exploitation, but not for money or anything? Or
it's for something of value. So the ride is a value. It can be for money. It can honestly just be for money. It can be for drugs. Like, I remember having sex with people because I wanted drugs, but they wouldn't frame it that way, if that makes sense. I just knew that as a minor or whatever, as a child, like, if I did this, I would get drugs, or I would get access to whatever. I wouldn't have to go sleep outside that night, or I wouldn't have to, you know, worry about food or having a restroom. Like, just it's easy, like simple things, like basic needs. So it don't always have to be money or you know, like something like that.
You survived, and you knew that if you offered sex that you would survive.
Or just something of like a sexual favor, whatever. It could have been a photo. It could have been like just...
It could have been a photo.
Yeah. That's why, like, nowadays, a lot of not young girls and young boys, even because it happens to men too, males, you shoot a photo and, like, they'll freaking buy you McDonald's or whatever. Or, like, you know, it's so easy nowadays. It's like, that's where extortion happens.
Yeah.
Trafficking is like where, and that's what happened to me at 15, where it's different. It's like more organized. It's where, you know, in my opinion, it's where you have the pimp, the trafficker, whatever. And there's actual like setups, there's sessions, there's dates. You're going out with, you know, your Johns and stuff like that. And there's motel meetups.
So how did this all start for you?
So for me, it happened with a lot of exploitation in the beginning, right? Because I was getting access to drugs, right? I would get super high and then like things would happen, right? And then at 15, I met this individual that had this, what he framed it so beautifully, but he was like, I have this escort service. I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, wow. Like, you know,
that sounds pretty.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like all these pretty girls and you know, like, and I'm 15, I'm just like being like wowed by this individual. I'm like, wow. Like, you know,
and I have these girls.
But in the beginning, he's only getting me high. He gave me all the freaking dope I wanted. All the dope I wanted. I'm just getting freaking lit.
Like, so he's building your trust.
Yes,
he's drawing you in.
I have access to a restaurant. For me, honestly, when I was going through all that stuff, if I can kick it at a spot that had a usable restroom, I'm chilling. I'm gonna stay there too, as long as I want. Just because like using the restroom or just like showering or whatever, it was always such a big deal. I didn't like to be out there all dirty and so. I mean, some things that would happen, but like I hated it.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So as long as I had a restroom, for me, it's like, I'm going to do what I need to do to just, you know, kick it, whatever. Even if it's just talking to these people or playing it around. Because I started learning, I'm like, if I just finesse the situation as much as I didn't like doing things with people sometimes. Like I still felt very young and I felt very vulnerable at times. And I just knew I had this drug habit that I just freaking wanted to get high. And so anyways, like he started talking about this escort service after maybe like a week after we started hanging
he's
out.
like this grown adult.
Yeah, grown adult.
And how does he find you?
So I met him when I was kicking in the hood. And then a homie from a homie from a homie from a homie, I met him. And then my mistake was like leaving my hood to go somewhere else. It was in Irvine. So he had this nice apartment. It wasn't furnished. I think that was also a red flag. It wasn't furnished, just his bedroom and a few other rooms.
So this guy's got you come into his apartment that's unfurnished, and you're in his bedroom, and he's an adult.
Yeah.
How old do you think?
Like, I think he was like 35 at the time.
And you're 15.
I'm 15.
Okay, and then it goes to another level.
Yeah. So one time we had gone out. He's like, "Hey, come with me. I need to go pick up like I think somewhere dope or whatever." He had to go pick up like big blocks of it or whatever. We were in a motel room picking up his stuff, like a really rundown one. And he gets his call, and he hangs up, and he just looks at me. And my heart kind of dropped. I'm like, what the fuck happened? Like, am I just gonna... in my head, I'm thinking, this was gonna tell me that I gotta go home or some shit, like, you know? And he's like, hey, Martha, he doesn't know my name, but he's like, hey, what, how down are you to make some money? And I'm like, I'm always down to make money. He's like, you sure? He's like, yeah, I'm down. Like, what happened or what? It's like, is this individual just called me? He said he wants to meet up with the young girl. It has to be young though. And you're young, right? And like, just having this conversation, I'm like, yeah, dude, you know, I'm 15, like trying to like play it off like, the fuck you know this? Like, obviously, yeah, like, what's up? Like, but he makes it like, nah, you're not down. Like, you know, doing that like back and forth, like, nah, never mind. I'm like, bro, what's up? Like, I got you. What's up? Like,
so he's manipulating you into thinking that you now want it.
Yeah, exactly. So then I'm like, don't do it. Like, what? Like, tell me, like, you know, like in my head, I'm thinking this fool's been taking care of me. Like, he's been buying me what I need. I feel obligated to say yes, no matter what it is.
Psychopath.
Yeah, so I'm thinking I have to go and rob somebody. I'm like, let's fucking do it. Like, where's my gun? Where's my shit? You know, and let's go. He's like, look, I'm gonna set you up in this room and like, just, you know, like, you don't gotta do nothing. Like, that's what he told me the first time. Like, you don't gotta do nothing. Just go in here, and he's gonna place the money down, and you know, he's gonna place like, you know, like I think he said like $600 or whatever. Like, he's gonna place it down. All you gotta do is just finesse it and then just run out with the money. I'm like, all right. It was like some Asian guy or something like that. I remember the whole detail to this day.
A room in this guy's apartment.
No. So this was a different motel. We had to go somewhere else.
Okay.
In Irvine. And so I go in. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. So I'm like, you sure you're gonna wait for me? I'm like, I don't want to have sex with no stranger. Like, that's fucking weird. Like, the hell? But I'm like, I want to do this for you because we need the money. You know, like, you've been helping me out. Fuck yeah. He's like, we'll get high afterwards and all this, whatever. You know, I'm like, fuck yeah, it's a win. And so I did that. I went inside to this room, met this, you know, Asian, weird-looking guy, kind of, you know, just kind of like isolated or whatever. And like, he just felt like he seemed like an antisocial person for sure. So I go in and I'm super late. I'm like, hey, I'm fucking being awkward myself. I'm like, hi. I'm like, how do you initiate this, right? So
and he's an adult.
He's an adult.
Okay.
But I seen that he put the money down, just kind of like wasting time. I was like washing my hands. I'm like, oh, I gotta freshen up or whatever, and you know, puts the money down, and I go over and, you know, like, he's just kind of like, you know, filling up on me and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, this is, I think, where I'm like, I kind of froze for a little bit. That's where I'm just like everything kind of hit back. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I honestly doing?
He starts like fondling your breasts.
Yeah, like stuff like that, just like under my sweatshirt or whatever,
and you're just standing there.
I'm just standing there like, and I remember him just saying, "You don't have to do anything, just run out." So I remember that. I remember him saying that. So I'm like, all right, cool. So like, now what's my next one? How am I gonna get out of this? So then I'm like, oh, I gotta wash my hands again. So for some reason the sink was right next to the exit, like the door. So then I grabbed the money and I dip. I freaking run as fast as I can, and the guy didn't run after me. I think he also knew that what he was doing is incorrect. But I really thought I was doing something incorrect by taking this money. I didn't think I was like a victim. I didn't think I was like somebody that was being put in a vulnerable situation. I just thought, I'm stealing his money. Like, I'm going to get in trouble, you know? So.
And you run.
Yeah. And my homeboy, the guy was waiting right there for me. And then I got in the car and we left. And I remember getting in the car with him and like, I gave him the money. He's like, what do you say? You're a good girl. That's what he told me. I remember that shit. And
fucking disgusting.
Yeah. And I just remember after that, I got super high that day. So I think I kept being on the binge.
You passed test 1.
Test 1 for sure with that aspect, yeah. And then after that, the money just became easy, but also my drug addiction became heavier because of the fact of knowing like what I was doing and how wrong it was.
That it turned into actual sex?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were groomed and manipulated into doing this again, but then engaging in.
Yeah. And, looking back, I think just with just men in general, I think I've always wanted to please them in a sense because I never had a father figure and I know that's a cliche. We all say that, like, a lot of women say that, like, but it's so true. Like, I never had that, like a positive role model that was able to, like, really, like, guide me or support me and be like, this is what a man should, like, behave like, or what a woman should do in order to gain their trust or their respect or whatever.
Of course, you had no role model.
Mm-hmm. So then that happened for my trafficking. That stuff happened. It didn't last too long, if I'm being honest with you. It lasted for about a year, but it was a lot of stuff that happened within that year. And
how many individuals
that I encountered? Fuck.
How
not all of them were like that I did like actual like full on stuff with. Some of them I would run out with money, but like within that time frame, like maybe like 100 people like that I'd encountered, and either it was like just a stick up job or it was something else.
And how are these people getting a hold of your pimp?
It was like it's so organized. It's so easy. It's so easy like to just have like again, it's the phones, the burners, the burner phones and stuff like that.
It's just like word of mouth, they know.
Yeah, like, there's word of mouth.
So what was rock bottom?
Rock bottom, damn. Rock bottom was just.
I mean, I assume there's a lot, but what was like the final one where you were like, I'm out?
I think the addiction, but also the school thing, because I was still a minor, so they were calling nonstop, like, where the hell is this child and why is she not in school? And I was still on probation, so I guess just realizing, like, damn, like, what am I doing? Because I always wanted to go to school. I love school. I honestly, I was such a nerd. Like, I really liked school. I just didn't know how to focus, but I loved learning. And I didn't know how to show that, knowing I had all these labels and all these identities. Like, so after I left what we call like, trafficking and all that, we call it the life. When I left the life or that stuff, I'm like, okay.
How did you leave the
I just left. So like a lot of times, some pimps or exploiters, I feel like my guy was more of an exploiter than a pimp. Like he was with it, but he was also like, I know that sounds so stupid, but he was kind. I know that sounds so dumb.
Right. I mean, but that's the manipulation, right?
Yeah. He wasn't like, he never put hands on me. He never like told me like, well, maybe he called me foolish. Like he didn't like to call me by my name, but like foolish. Like you don't have to stay if you don't want to. Like when you're done, like you're done. Like we're making money. But also that fool was always high too. So the drugs would always get to him. Yeah. So he wasn't always straight minded too. So I'll come up on money too, and I'll keep my money to myself as well. I'll like I say, if I made 700, I'll give him like 400 or 500 or whatever.
Oh my God, that's a horrible cut.
I know, but
did he wear like a fur jacket and a hat?
No, I know that's a cliche. No, he didn't wear. He looked like a bum, to be honest with you. Just a white tee, and like he always just looked spracked out. And
I got approached by a pimp once in San Francisco, and he had a fur coat on and like a really big hat.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, bitch, do you want some work?" And I said, "No, I got a job." And he said, "But you look like fucking Superwoman. Mm-hmm. People will pay a lot for you." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet, but I gotta go." And I was terrified.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back. Wait, tell me the moment you found out you were pregnant.
The moment I found out, I was 3 months pregnant. I was 3 months in. I was still smoking dope. And I remember one time I was kicking it in the hood and I was smoking a blunt and drinking, and I just freaking passed out, I guess. And my homie, a good homie, I still talk to him to this day. He had picked me up and he took me home. He's like, "Hey, dude, like, what the fuck happened to you, man? You're twitching and shit." And I'm like, "What? Well, I don't know, bro. What happened? Like, I don't know what happened." He's like, "I don't know, but I think you need to kick back." And I'm like, "All right, So I'm like, I was like stressed out, and I took a pregnancy test like the next day, and I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm pregnant." And I just, everything, like the whole like reality of like what I was doing was just hit me, because I was like, first I didn't want to stop.
Yeah.
I didn't want to stop. And then I'm like, shit, I have to stop. I had previously, like, you know, some abortions that I did when I was younger because things were happening. You know, obviously things were happening, and I wasn't ready. So now that it's like with this pregnancy, I'm like, I have to, like, I you know, I had been talking to God. I'm like, please, Lord, just send me something. The moments where I was really coming down, like, please, Lord, I'm not trying to do this no more. Like, send me something that can help me to get out of this fucking life.
So you wanted
I wanted to get out as well, but there's moments where I didn't, like, especially with the drug addiction. I wanted to get out the life of like caking it and doing all that stuff, but I still wanted to do drugs. And then there was moments where I just didn't want it all. And then I was suicidal, and I've, you know, suicide was always something that was like lurking, and like I'll be always, when you're coming down hard off drugs. I mean, anybody that has ever done hardcore drugs, like we've thought about taking our life out. And so,
did you ever try and take your life?
I mean, yes, but like it was like super like dramatic, and just like it wasn't gonna work because again, you're just coming down. You don't know, like you're going through a hard mental it's like psychological fuck in your head that you're just like you just want it to end, but you also just you just need to get high again, probably, or just let it.
That's what keeps you going.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, like with pills or like trying to cut myself or whatever, but obviously that never, you know, lasted long because then I'll just like snap back. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I just need to get high.
Oh, the cycle.
Yeah.
The brutal fucking cycle.
Yeah. So it's just like, damn. Like I remember one time I was really trying to quit, and I had, you know, packed my pipe, because to smoke meth you have to have a pipe, a glass pipe or whatever. I'd packed it, and I'm like, fuck, what am I doing? So then I got mad and I smashed it, and I went to go dig it outside in the yard. So like I did that, but one time I dug my whole pipe just like fully like loaded and shit, and I dug it outside in the yard thinking like I'm not gonna do it. If I dig it up, I mean if I dig it and leave it there, but no, 2 hours later I'm over there in the backyard digging like a freaking fiend and shit. And it's funny to me now, but like the things that it causes you to do, but you're not okay in your head. You're really not.
Well, and I appreciate you explaining it because I don't think people don't understand it unless they've done it. Like
addiction is such a
and people get blamed for addiction.
No, I mean, you know what? Like even when I got sober, I'm like thinking like, why can these people stop or whatever? Like now I'm 30 years old now. I'm 30 years old, and I tell people like I'm still in recovery because like there's moments where I just really want to fucking get high, to be honest. You know?
I can imagine.
And because I did it for so long. Yeah. But I have my son, I have my family, I have my career, I have this mentorship that I'm doing with students. I don't want to see.
What's day to day like now?
It's very nice. It's very nice. I get to do stuff like this, you know. Yeah. And obviously I'm a mom. I take my son to school, pick him up.
How old is he?
He's 9. Going to be 10 in December. Okay. But I always tell my son, like, hey, like, you're the reason why I stopped a lot of things, you know, like, and I think he gets it, but he also doesn't, you know. He's asking more questions now about my life and what I did and whatever. And I'm honest with him, like, you know, yeah, your mom was a gangster at one point or a gang member or whatever. Because he sees photos or whatever that I have. And I'm not trying to lie to him.
I think it's a reasonable age to explain it. I mean, my 7-year-old, I would explain it. We had a full talk about the death penalty the other day. Like what's electrocution and the firing squad.
Yeah, my son's very morbid. Like he likes morbidly stuff. Like, and it's cool.
You're like, I got you. I can share some stories with you.
Oh, look, you just drew someone with the knife. Great. What are we doing? You know, so I got our back.
But you can protect him.
Yeah.
I mean, you can protect him because you're so aware of what so many parents are not aware of.
Yeah, but I don't look at it in a bad way. For me, it's like, okay, he's just using imagination. And at the end of the day, the best people that sometimes create some things, sometimes we have to have a little bit of that, like, horror and gruesome stuff that just brings to the, you know, like, it brings a certain type of beauty to the world, right?
Well, it's fucking reality.
Exactly.
So you got a master's in criminology, which is also fucking reality.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What's the master's cover?
It covers, well, basically the study of why people commit crime. That's the main reason. And I've always wanted to study that because I always wanted to know, like, why, like when I was gangbanging and we're on the streets, I was like, why in the fuck are we out here? Like, why are we here? Why are we committing crime? What caused us to be here right now? and what's going to be the effect of us because we're here right now. So
you were wondering that while it was happening.
Yeah. When I was drinking a 40 and I was writing down in my journals, and I have actual moments where I'm like, why are we here? Why are we doing this? Why are we, and I'm just looking around, I'm like, damn, like we're just killing raza, like meaning like we're just killing ourselves, our own people, and we're hurting our communities, and we're just.
So what's the answer? Like why do gangs exist?
I think it's because there's such a dysfunction at home and basic needs are not being met by the adults that need to be protecting the children. And if those basic needs are not being met, whatever it can be psychological, it can be love, it can be food, it can be clothing, it can be any of those things, or it can be, abuse and neglect that they're having to endure, maybe not, directly, but indirectly by domestic violence within the home, stuff like that. And that causes a lot of instability in a child. And then
they seek out the gang.
Yeah, or a need. They're going to find a need. Yeah. They're going to find something that meets that need that they're craving.
And then the gang is for money?
The gang can be for anything,
Power?
Just for camaraderie. Like, it can be for brotherhood, for like friendship, for a sense of belonging, for a sense of like, hey, you have a fucked up life. I have a fucked up life. Let's all have a fucked up life. Like.
So do you have to like trademark your gang name and start a website, or how do you know that no one else is going to take it and like make merch out of it?
What's funny? Well, you have to ask around. I mean, you would know.
Does like a gang member have a lawyer?
Right, we should have that type of, that should
or
be
like
so
an
organized.
IP
like,
trademark?
Okay, Martha, you kind of have that name. It belongs to somebody else. Like,
see, you got to trademark it.
I know, I got to trademark it.
Okay, so we come full circle, and we're sitting in Orange County after this life that you've lived.
Definitely. I think another full circle one for me was when so I had the opportunity to speak and all that stuff, but then I got connected back with my district where at one point I got expelled from. So this year I was able to finally receive my 8th grade promotion certificate, and I was able to shake all the hands of like the 8th graders and close out that circle because I got expelled. I didn't get to graduate from 8th grade. So, there's a whole little article and all that stuff, and I was able to get, my 8th grade certificate and say a little speech about it. And, it made me feel really good that my district took me back, and they're the ones investing in me, and they're, that's how I have this mentorship business, have a grant with them.
Which is called?
Full Circle Orange County.
Which I think is brilliant.
It's like my full circle moment. Yeah, full circle all the way around. And I get to, mentor, students that are kids of my homies doing time in the penitentiary right now. So it's like, if I can help break that cycle with them, like we break it, right?
I'm so grateful that you came here to talk with me, and you are such an asset to this world and to this community. And I'm so excited for where you're going to go with this.
I'm excited too.
I'm so excited for the lives that you're changing with your story.
Thank you. One day at a time. One day. I don't always see it like that, but when I get that, handshake from my students or from just anybody, like, hey, like, I appreciate you. I'm like, anytime, man.
I appreciate you, and I'm sure hundreds of thousands of people do, and you just don't know.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, come talk to me anytime.
I most definitely am. You're a very interesting person yourself, and your space is incredible, and it's right up my alley. It's like girly and also like thuggish.
Right? So for everyone listening, like, we're sitting on a gray couch, but behind me is a hot pink kitchen. And then behind Martha is a prison cell.
Yeah. Yeah.
With blood splatter all over the walls.
And we're serial killers like all over the place.
Serial killers and coasters.
But it's hella dope. I like it. It's a good vibe.
Yeah, it's very, very normal for our conversation, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too. I love it.
Okay. I'm really grateful that you came. Thank you for watching another episode of Intentionally Disturbing, and I'm really happy that you got to meet Martha, because I have to say, and I don't want to sound biased, but I think she's like my favorite person ever, the best interviewer. She's so articulate. She's been through hell and back, and she's changing the world one kid at a time, one day at a time, and we need more people like Martha pushing these movements forward. So thank you again, and stay tuned. I'll see you the next time.